So, Jessica, could you share a challenge that you faced either in your personal life or in running your business and how you were able to get out of that crisis? I mean, crisis is something that people are talking about since COVID times. And so we want to be able to decode this with you.
So I like to talk about personal crisis followed by corporate crisis. I think my own personal crisis happened about 15 years ago when I was diagnosed with cancer. And I think that the diagnosis in itself could incapacitate you because of fear, because you can catastrophize the diagnosis and then begin to withdraw from all. I too went into the same fear like many people who had cancer. But I find that within a short time, I was able to build up my confidence again and trust in myself again, and then believe that I still have the ability to contribute, and also the ability to relabel the crisis and not call it a crisis, but to call it a small setback. And because if you call it a crisis, it means that you're going to lose your balance and then there's a disequilibrium. That word crisis can be quite haunting, right? Call it a small setback and also look at it as an opportunity for looking after your physical health, being more mindful, looking at aspects of life perhaps you have neglected. So I see it as a second opportunity to look after your physical self, your spiritual self, your emotional self, and your social self. So that is one crisis that I emerged with a lot of pride that I was able to move on, and it never stopped me from actually doing what I want to do. So that would be a personal challenge that I had.
That's wonderful. And I really love what you have highlighted here for us. Number one is to relabel a crisis into a small setback so that we can be empowered with how it shows up eventually. And number two is to also look at the setback as an opportunity to look at things that we may have not forgotten or neglected or not considered in the past, and to actually make that part and parcel of our life. What about the second challenge that you are going to highlight to us?
Yes, I think whoever is listen to this show probably would be able to identify with it globally. I see the variant, the COVID-19 as a universal storm. And what makes a difference between you and the other person is resilience. Your mental resilience, whether or not you're able to still be optimistic, whether you're still able to see that the glass is not half empty, but it's half full, is resilience. I think the difference between person A and person B is about resilience. And also, whenever there is a crisis like that is not within your locus of control, is to tap on your resources. Internal resource is your social, emotional resilience and mental resilience, but you also have to tap on your external resource. External resource is that you can rely on family members. You can actually tap on friendship and also mentors. And don't be afraid to reach out. That will make a difference. And the third thing is that to use this crisis to look at especially the integration of technology. If you want to survive, even as an entrepreneur, whether you are the Merdeka age or the pioneer age, I think that to overcome the fear of integrating technology into your workplace, this is very important. The fourth thing, continue to see the rainbow, even though there's thunder and storm. In one sentence, it is called universal storm, but we are in different boats. So it also taught me humility, that in this storm, even you're coping very well, is to have the humility to understand that another person might not be coping as well as you are, and therefore not to use a yardstick of judgment that people should be able to thrive or to judge, that they should be able to cope with it. The first word I used was gratitude. The second one is compassion. I think the crisis taught me compassion. I see a difference between just having empathy as opposed to having compassion. To me, compassion is not just feeling what you feel, seeing what you see, and hear what you hear, but wanting to do something to reach out to help the other person. To me, this is compassion. I think COVID-19 has given us many lessons that it need not be negative, but it can also be positive because it can also bring about compassion. And the last word I think would be adjustment. That the only way to survive the universal storm is to have adjustment in any big or small businesses, is to embrace the idea of adjustment. Because if you do not adjust, it will lead to mental health issue like anxiety and depression. Adjustment means the willingness to be versatile, to shift your pole, to look at options, alternative, and opportunities. So I think this global crisis, this pandemic, none of us were trained. We did have some lessons around SARS, but I think the pandemic, we were not trained. And therefore, it is about learning on your feet.
Well, thank you, Jess. I'd never spent enough time to note the difference. But what I took away from your definition was that compassion was one step more. Not only did I demonstrate the necessary empathetic response to someone's situation, but I actually took action consistent with reaching out to that person. And I think that's the key point, because empathy is maybe just the first level, but truly to have a collective kind of a community, we need compassion. So thank you for highlighting.
And what guided me in this pandemic to run the academy is that it has to be principle-centered. For example, in the Executive Counseling and Training Academy, we truly believe in our core values. And I think this is also can be shared with many other businesses. For us, we go into the core value called pride, Pride. P stands for professionalism. That in any business you are doing, you cannot be personal. You have to stay professional. And the second one is resilience, mental resilience, social resilience, and emotional resilience. So resilience. And I stands for, is from the character, it's called integrity. Integrity is about being honest in the business you do. What you say you would deliver, that will be the deliverable. That's PRI. And D stands for dedication. And I cannot imagine that a business can go long haul if there's no dedication and no passion. And finally, it is called ethics. Ethics would be going into practices there's governance, compliance, quality assurance, that you are open in your books to be audited and also to be monitored by the external eye. So I think that the core values is very, very important to us to run amidst COVID-19, that your students, your academic staff your vendors can trust you, that you have got integrity and professionalism. And I think the last one is the ethos. The ethos of a business. To us, we are student-centric. So I suppose if yours is not student, it can be customer-centric. It means that you put your customer and your student as the ethos, guided by your core values. And of course, overarching that would be your mission statement, and your vision statement becomes extremely important.